This is a Willets Point Shea Stadium bound 7 express train. The next and last stop is Willets Point, Shea Stadium.
Now that we have the impact of the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. signing, and I think he even got, was it a $315 million signing bonus or something like that?
Something absurd.
Something,
yes. Yeah.
It's a contract that we all know is not going to be great by the time end, but it feels like Toronto had no choice but to make this deal. They could not lose Vlad. He didn't want to leave Toronto. He wanted to be there, but we know that the Mets did their part in making it known that they were going to leave that option open by signing Pete to that short-term deal. They wanted to leave all options open. That's what they did last season when they had these contracts that were, player options for 1 year to allow themselves to have the availability to make a move for Juan Soto. And they ended up getting Juan Soto, and they wanted to do the same thing for Vlad Guerrero Jr. And I don't know if they would have paid him the $500 million at the end of the day, but they left themselves open to that. Now that he's out of the picture, should the Mets extend Pete Alonso? Has your opinion on that, changed, or your stance changed, given the week that we've seen?
Yeah, I would still love and hope that Alonso ends up being a career Met. And, it's a shame, too, if he did walk this past offseason, didn't come back. It's another story of a guy who could have been the leader in Mets home runs, walks before that happens, could have been a 400-plus home run hitter for his career, doing half of it elsewhere. So I'm happy at least the potential's there that he'll be here. I mean, he should be the Mets all-time home run leader this season. I forget exactly how much he's away, but it's a very attainable number. So that would be really nice to see. I'm also happy, ironically, that the Vlad situation resolved itself naturally before the Mets even had the chance to be involved there too. I think it's better for the Mets because you don't have that awkward situation. Well, what if Alonso has a great year? What if he hits 40 home runs, 100-plus RBIs? Now you're going to let him walk, your franchise leader in home runs, to bring in another first baseman of power? That would have been an awkward situation. And it works better for Alonso too, because I have a suspicion. Again, you mentioned it before. We used to see the fun Pete Alonso, and we just didn't see that last year. And I wonder if the weight of not signing that big extension that was reported, like the 7-year, $150+ million extension about 2 years ago, I think that was starting to weigh on him too. You take the mixture of both of that, he had a rough year. Now, with Vlad out of the picture, there's no more of that conversation. There's no more conspiracies with the fans, with the media, whoever it might be, about replacing him with Vlad Guerrero. He could just go out there and be himself, and it sets up the table to potentially do an extension. I wouldn't touch it right now. I just want to enjoy the moment. Don't impact any vibes. Let Alonso keep doing his thing, because right now he really is the offense. Soto is getting on base. We know he has the pop. He'll get there. Lindor is really starting to wake up. He had a very nice series. So he's setting the table, but Alonso is really the one doing the damage. Let it ride. Have a good time. Enjoy the vibes. That's a problem we'll revisit later in the year.
And that's where we wanted him to do in the offseason, right? We knew that it was going to be Lindor, Soto, Alonso in that order, and trying to bring in these runs here. And, it sucks for a guy like Francisco Lindor, who, the people who come on before him in the bottom of that order really aren't doing much. So he doesn't have much wiggle room to get his RBI chances, but, he's getting on base. But before we close out, with Pete, I agree with you. I think that you wait until the end of the season, let David Stearns do what David Stearns does, and he will figure out a way. I truly feel that the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. thing was something that they were trying to consider. I know that they weren't probably going to go to the 500, considering they already paid Juan Soto this big contract. I didn't think that they were going to go do that with 2 players. But now, they have the opportunity to bring back Pete. And maybe this time in the offseason, maybe Pete gets somewhat of the deal in the years that he wants. He doesn't want to leave Queens. We know this. I mean, I know he held out for as long as he could, thanks to the, great Scott Boras, but you can tell that he really loves New York and he really wants to be here. And he's a performer here, right? We all want players that want to play here and that can hack it here. And he's one of those guys. So maybe he gets a, let's say, 4-year deal or something with an option to get him to 35 or 36 years old. I think that would be something that maybe Stearns would consider, and we'll see what happens in the offseason with that.